Hey everyone, checking out another Autodesk Fusion 360 Certified User Exam Objective. And with this one, we're going to again continue on through assembly modeling, and we're going to check out create a component from a body. And so there's a few things when it comes to Fusion that are pretty important. So let me go ahead and move into Fusion. I'm going to go ahead and use an automata box as an example, just because it's very simple parts to put together very quickly, and it keeps the video short, but also really drives home a lot of the things that are going on. So first off, let me go ahead and start off with this. Usually we always want to start off with a new component. So a new component is usually kind of rule number one for Fusion, is we always want to make sure we're creating a new component. However, sometimes that can be forgotten. So let me go ahead and demonstrate what happens when we do that. I'm going to go ahead and click Create Sketch. I'm going to create on the top work plane here. I'm going to choose a center rectangle. And I'm going to go ahead and do a 5 by 4 inch box bottom piece. And I'm going to go ahead and extrude. Now, as soon as I extrude this to a thickness of 0.25, we're going to get a bodies folder that now shows up with body 1, and when I click on it, it'll highlight, or when I hover over it, it will highlight as well with my mouse cursor. So here's what ends up happening is I'm gonna go ahead and collapse this menu here. If I go to create a separate box side, if I just go ahead and say create sketch, if I choose the side of the bottom piece, and if I go to create the side and base it off of the top of the bottom piece, a 4 inch by 4 inch piece. Let's throw a very simple hole in here. It's going to be a 0.5, and let me go ahead and I'm going to hold shift and grab the midpoints of the lines here and the line with the center of the hole, so that way it's fully constrained. If I extrude and choose the shape, negative 0.25, now suddenly you're going to notice it's going to merge these two parts together, which when you build a box for Automata, you'll notice that we don't have that. And if I check my bodies folder, it treats this as one single body. So which is something that we really don't want. We really want to keep the sides separate. So I'm going to go ahead and delete these last two features on my model history tree. And now I'm going to go ahead and say create sketch. I'm going to click the same face. I'm going to click it off of a work plane. And I'm going to actually purposely not connect it to the bottom. Again, it's going to be a 4 inch by 4 inch side. We'll put a hole in here. Now the only thing is we're not going to be able to fully constrain this because we're not tied to the origin in this case. And we really don't want to be, because it's going to interfere with our box bottom piece that we set at the origin. So let me go ahead and extrude this shape. It's going to be 0.25. So there's our box side piece. Now here's what you're going to see. In the bodies folder, now we have two separate bodies. So we did not constrain it or sketch it based off of the bottom piece, and that's why it creates two separate bodies. Now, very common. It can be very common as you get into Fusion, you forget to create a new component. So here's what we can do, because right now if I go to joint, it says there's no components in the design. We have to have a component in order to create joints between our parts. So here's the thing we're going to take a look at. Is if I go over here to the bodies folder, if it is collapsed, we click to expand it, and I can right click on a body, and this is the only way to do this, is I can create components from bodies. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to choose that option. Now I have component 1, which if I select the name, now I'll name this to be the box bottom, and then for body 2, create components. This is the side piece. So all the sketches though will still remain in the sketches folder. So that's the one big difference of, like, for example, if I create another side component, but if I choose new component, we'll call this, we'll say this is the left side here. That if I create a sketch and if I base it off of the left side of our box here, it's going to be the same kind of geometry that we were working with just on our other side component. So you can see everything gets fully constrained, and when I extrude, you're going to see now when I go back up to my top level assembly, because I created a component first, it created them, you can see the line there dividing them out. It created this as two separate components. Now here's the other thing that can happen. So, and then here's the other thing too, is the sketches, we didn't get another sketch added, but the sketch now belongs to the component when we choose new component from the beginning, which to me I think is a little bit better way to organize it. However, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the assembly. So now if I go to joint, I can actually now joint my components. So I'll grab this corner, and I'll grab the corner there. It's going to be a rigid joint. That'll be fine. So, but if I'm go through and if I've done like a new component and based it off of there, I can also use as built joint. So like maybe I want to say this part and the box bottom, we want it to be rigid. We say okay. And now of course, because I don't have the bottom grounded, let me ground this first. Now our pieces don't move. So two ways to go through and achieve some assembly, but also this is how to, you know, create a component from a body. So, but again, if you base it off of some things like how we noticed earlier in the video, it can get a little tricky, you know, of how you go through and do that. So hopefully this was some good info to get you prepared to know how to create a component from a body. And if you need any other help, feel free to contact me, and hopefully this will help you prepare well for your Autodesk Certified User exam, and check out other videos for spotlighted exam objectives for Fusion 360's ACU exam.